Good evening and welcome to the FiTT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer,
And I'm Thomas Doty.
and we are the FiTT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. How are you doing today, Thomas Doty?
I'm doing fantastic. I am doing
And
fantastic.
I'm so glad that you're doing fantastic, and I hope everybody who's tuning in doing fantastic too. Thank you all for tuning in. We really appreciate you all, and we here every Thursday at 8 p.m. trying to, dispense some financial information that you can use. We got a lot going on this week, but I'd like to start off by telling you, please click on the like button. That's how we get traction, the like and the heart button. You can click on it as many times possible as you can. We really would appreciate that. That helps us reach more people. And we hope that you will put comments in the comment box. Or, if we are talking about a subject and you have an opinion about it, please, put your opinion in the comment box. Or if you have a question, or if you have a topic you'd like for us to cover, something that we can cover today, we will do that. If it's something that you need to come back on another show, we'll come back to you on the next show. But I guarantee you, we will address it because that's what we try to do. But we try to make this, since we're in a virtual studio, me and Dote's in South Carolina and I'm in Bowie, Maryland. But we like to make this an interactive show. So please put many comments in there as you can. And that's it for the administrative stuff today, okay? And today is Thursday, November 20th, and this is our 221st show, Thomas Doty.
It's a bunch.
Yes, that's 4 years of shows, matter of fact. And want to make sure, before I forget, next week is Thanksgiving Thursday, and we do not do a show on holidays, so we'll be back at you. What date would that be? That will be the 4th, December the 4th. We'll be back to you December the 4th. Reason why it takes me a little while, you notice I'm not wearing glasses, ladies and gentlemen, because I just had a cataract surgery just on one eye, this eye, and next week I'll have it on this eye. And things are looking very vibrant, but I'm not being able to read close up yet. Because, I was looking at this girl at Costco's today, and it was looking like she had one big leg and one little leg. I'm like, what's going on? God damn, I used to know the girl. I'm like, damn, I didn't know she got sick. And I'm seeing stuff, though. I'm looking at the mirror, seeing myself. I'm like, whoa, I didn't even know I had those moles. So it's just a new day. And I advise, ladies and gentlemen, if you need to get it, that surgery is, oh my God, the colors are looking vibrant. Well, so, though, with that, my man, last week, man, got great responses from people navigating family wealth. A lot of people enjoyed it, had a lot of comments about it. And, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce Thomas Doty has just been anointed a new name. He's been talking about the stock market, and he said, man, Bob, it don't look good. Look like that thing going to start, dipping. Not necessarily crash, but we definitely did say about dipping, and we kind of worry about it crashing. And it's been the last, 3 weeks, though, it's been going down?
It's been going down like crazy, Bob.
Like crazy. The day is no different, and Dote's going to tell you. But, ladies and gentlemen, this man right here called it. And his new name is Dostradamus. Let's get into it.
If we were at work, I would take you to HR for a drug test.
That's messed up. Oh, is it work? Yes, we're in business today, though. Okay.
Tough day on the streets today.
It's
been tough. It's been tough for a while. They've been losing pretty consistently lately. And A lot of reasons for that, and we're going to talk about them in our show tonight. But as you can see, S&P is down 3% this week-to-week comparison. NASDAQ's down 3.5%. Microsoft dropped 25 points, down to 478. Apple's down 7. NVIDIA's down 6. And what's funny about NVIDIA was up about 10 points this morning, and it ended up dropping at the end of the day. And so Google continues to roll. They've had a lot of good news. Pfizer dropped a couple. Palantir dropped. United Healthcare dropped, but that was mostly earlier in the week. And now there's starting to be some doubt about whether or not they can turn things around. And remember, I got in here at 301. I was telling Bob, if it gets around 300, I'll probably bail, but I'm going to hang in as long as it stays above what I paid for it. And Corning dropped 4 points. And this portfolio is obviously heavily invested in technology stocks. I mean, Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, Google, Palantir, and Corning are all primarily technology stocks. And that's the part of the market that has been going down, with the reason being, there's a couple of different reasons. One is that they think those stocks are all overvalued. I mean, they've had a tremendous run up. If you look at these drops, but you also look at year to date, and you can see those stocks are still up. Microsoft's still up 14% for the year. Corning's still up 16%. Palantir's up 105%. Google's up 53%. NVIDIA's up 35%. And Apple's only up 6%. And so there's been a tremendous run up. And it's kind of funny. I was reading an article today. I don't know if you guys remember Michael Berry, but he was a guy, an investment guy, and he was one of the few people that recognized the housing bubble. I think that was back in 2008, I believe. And he sold short on that and made a gazillion amount of dollars. Well, and he had a fund that he manages for people. And he sent a note to all his folks that he was closing the fund because he's basically saying what the market is doing right now makes no sense. And so there's a lot of trepidation out there regarding inflation, tariffs, political. There's just a lot of things out there that are not good. And what's happened this week is the unemployment rate went up, even though employers added more jobs than was anticipated. And so that's also putting into question whether or not the Fed is going to cut interest rates next month. And so this market is a little scared right now. They have an index that measures people's anxiety, and it's pretty high right now. So things are a little shaky, and I think they're going to be shaky for a while. You still got some pretty hefty valuations on some of these stocks. And me personally, I'm not selling anything, and I may actually be looking to buy. But that's where we are right now.
Wow. Yeah, that's man. But you look at the NASDAQ, it was down 792 points.
Yeah, and but let me mention one more thing. And this is a word of caution to anyone who's retiring in the future. If you plan on retiring, this is a very good reason, the closer you get to retirement, not to be too heavily invested in the stock market if you're going to depend on that money, okay? Because if the stock market takes a big hit right before you retire, that can have a lasting effect on your portfolio for years to come if you're no longer adding money to it. So if you're getting close to retirement, you might want to be a little more conservative than you've been in the past, because you don't want to start your retirement after a big drop in the market. Okay, so just think about that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, though. And that's, talking about the mix, especially if you're in the thrift savings plan or T. Rowe Price, retirement plans. Sometimes they say, you might be heavily in stocks, like 60% stocks and 40% uh, low risk, like, money markets or bonds. And some people say, only the sweet spot, what works for you. Some people say, they want to go 60% into the low risk, like money markets and uh, money markets and low risk, and 60%. Some people do 30% money markets or cash, reserves, and 70% cash reserve and 30% equities. Only know what's best for you because it's really based on your risk tolerance. So
And it's different for everybody.
it's
No,
different
no,
for everybody. And that's why
no two people are the same.
we say, and as you can see, I'm giving you different mixes, but get some help. Get some help. Talk to some of your friends who really are into the market and really know the market. Talk to them and see what they're doing. Or, as we always say, get a financial advisor, get a CFP. Talk to somebody, get some advice so you can to help you find that sweet spot for you.
Yeah, and the only thing I say, Bob, I didn't like what you said about talking to people. You could only take advice from somebody who understands your situation. You don't want to do anything based on what somebody else does because their situation may not fit your situation. So if you talk to somebody, make sure they're understanding where you are and can make a decision based on where you are and what's best for you, because every situation is unique.
Or when you talk to them, understand where they are, because they may not be where you are. Same flip thing. So good point, though. Good point. But I'm just saying, as far as just getting some basic knowledge of what's going on and how they're doing and how they're figuring it, how to do theirs, not specifically doing exactly what they're doing, but how they're looking to do this and what it's based on, and it might lend some information to you. So good point on that, though. I want to talk about commodities, in particular gold, and normally it's an inverted relationship, and gold is up $18 a share. An ounce. It's back over. It went below 4,000, but it's back over 4,000 dollars again. It's $4,078 an ounce, and silver. Silver was really just prodding along, dragging the past several years, wasn't growing as fast as the gold was. But now gold is up to $50.42 an ounce. And I got in 2017, it was $16 an ounce. So, another diversified tool for you is those commodities. Even people look at palladium these days and platinum. So, always think about diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Though the crypto market is taking
a killing.
It's taking a beating. The total market is down 10%. That's $329 billion that is down. The Bitcoin dropped last week. It was something like $2,500. And coin the week before was about maybe 3,000. This week it's dropped between last week and this week $11,893 a Bitcoin. It's down to $86,832 a Bitcoin, down 12%. That's a pretty big hit. But I got in way before. I think you got in way. When did you get in? What was the?
I got in. I put $4,000 in, and it got as high as 26,000. That $4,000 it turned into 26. Now it's down to 20.
But what was Bitcoin going at when you got in?
Hold on, I'll have to look that up. Keep talking. I'll look it up.
Okay, because when I got in, it was at 29,000. So I'm still doing good, but I think you got in before that. I think I got in
I
at
got in way before you. I know
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think I got in at 2019 or right during the pandemic, somewhere around there, and it was at 29,000 a Bitcoin. And I think I got it before that too, though. I think I got it. It was, but no, I know for sure it's 29,000. But hey, we talk about it's a long play, ladies and gentlemen, and it's risky. So that's why you don't put money into that you're going to need in the next 1, 2, or 3 years. Make sure you um, look at that real good. Man, the Ripple, the stable coin is down. Um, XRP is down 13%. That is big. It's down to $2 now. That's the coin that they're going to start regulating, that the SEC was going to get involved with, and the government. That's one that they were going to regulate. We want to talk about the other cryptocurrency coins. And that's down 13%. That's a pretty big drop. So, as normal, as we say, as you can see, that crypto market is very, very unstable. So, dope. We're going to talk about today's show. Today's show is really important, you all. Um, it's really important because we talked about the anxieties and the fear, but today's show is feel less stressed about finances. And in particularly your finances, because I know a lot of people are really just such uncertainty, man, and with the job market, with the inflation and the cost of goods going up, and kids getting ready, to graduate out of high school. I got a lot of folks that have kids that's, either getting ready to go to college or in their first year of college, and how they're coming down on the colleges because the colleges have been going up between 7 to 9% tuition a year, though. So all of these things can put a lot of stress on people. So we want to talk about that today.
Yeah, let's get into it. And you think about some of the things that are bothering people today. You look at the tariffs. That's nobody knows what that's going to do to the economy. And all I can tell you that every time large tariffs were implemented, the market crashed right after. Then you have inflation, which is still higher than the Fed would like. They have a 2% goal. Right now it's a little bit over 3. And the thinking is that tariffs are going to push that up even more. Then you get this weakening jobs outlook. And every week you read about somebody's laying off a bunch of people. I think I saw Verizon's laying off 15,000 people. All you ever read about is people laying off. And so that's taking a toll on folks. And then the stock market hit a series of record highs, but lately it's been extremely shaky and has been going down a bunch. And so a lot of people are feeling anxious, and there's reason to feel anxiety. And if you look at a lot of surveys that have been taken, it's saying that everybody's a little nervous about the market. And if you think about, again, the effect of tariffs, that could add another 2% price increases to where we already are. And that's an income loss of a couple of $1,000s per person. At the same time, nobody's hiring, and a lot of folks are laying off. So there's a lot of economic headwinds going on right now.
Yeah, our frat brother Clutch said, how does one stock like NVIDIA drive the market?
Because they sell chips, and they sell the chips that everybody wants for AI. That's why they're the biggest company in the world right now. They sell what everybody needs in order to take part in artificial intelligence. They sell the let's call it the machine part of that. So that's the reason why it's doing so well.
And as you said, though, I could have sworn I saw something like, I know they're the largest company in the world, and I could have sworn it was around $4 trillion. It's something way up there, the valuation.
And that's the capitalization, yeah.
Right.
But
And that,
they announced earnings yesterday. And
yes.
again, they blew away third quarter estimates. They didn't weaken their full year guidance. So everything was extremely positive. And I think I mentioned this before. Some people are thinking it's almost like a Ponzi scheme in that all the Microsofts and NVIDIAs and Googles are selling to companies. The companies who are buying their goods are all losing money. And so if at some point something positive doesn't come out of all this investment, then things will obviously blow up. So, and when I say Ponzi scheme is that there's no definite, nobody can say that, yes, I'm spending all this money and it's going to give me X, so that's the worry among some of the other things I mentioned, in that is all this investment going to be worth it? At one point, the market dropped a bunch because the analysts were all worried about how much was being invested. Okay. But I think the bigger worry now is, will we reap the benefits of all these investments? Will all this investment be worth it? Because right now, a whole lot of money is going into AI.
Yeah, and what people don't know though, that was a good question, Clutch. People don't know there are normally a few stocks that be driving the market. It's not like you'd be surprised. It's not like it's, even though you got the S&P 500, the Russell 2000, but it's just really sometimes just a couple of major companies that can drive the market, and no one has it pinned down on how it really happens, but that's usually how it is, man. And the video is rolling.
Well, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, Apple, they are a large part of the S&P 500.
Right.
Technology stocks right now are pretty much driving the market.
And like when we talk about the Magnificent Seven,
Yep.
just seven stocks out of like what, thousands is driving the market. So that's what happens. So good question, Clutch. Now, what makes experts anxious though is that many people, may make impulsive and possibly damaging money decisions to ease their worries. They think, if the market's going down, and they, think they're moving most of their retirement dollars into cash, or loading up on gold or cryptocurrency or other high-risk alternative assets. Now, everybody, wants to get into the driver's seats of their financial life, because everybody would like to take control of their finances. And that's what most of everybody, looking at what they can control. So today's discussion, feel less stressed about your finance, we hoping, we can help you tackle, some of the money worries in a healthy way.
Yeah, okay. And let's talk about the worries you have and how to, I don't want to say alleviate, but how to lessen your worries. And the first thing you got to do is figure out what's bothering you the most. What's the biggest concern you have about the market? Think about, try to pin that down, and then try to get your arms around it. Try to get a plan to address that worry. For example, if you're worried about high prices, everything's high, you can start by taking a look at your budget, look for ways to lower your expenses. You might start looking for coupons, finding out about available discounts, looking at your credit cards. A lot of credit cards offer perks at particular vendors. I take advantage of those all the time. I get a list from American Express of which companies they give additional rewards for. And you can look at subscriptions that you aren't really using. And especially a lot of TV streaming services. Some people have way more than they can watch. Another example is if you're retired and you're worried about inflation, that you might outlive how much you save. And you might be worried about a big hit to the market, and you can consider taking some of your money and some of your it's this 4 to 6 months of your expenses from your investment portfolio and switch that to something lower risk, a high yield savings account that you can dip into as needed. And that way you will avoid selling stocks if the market drops sharply, and you won't have to sell in a panic. Okay. And that usually creates a bad situation. When you sell, when you're not ready to sell and you're panicking, you're usually selling at a loss. So temporarily lowering your annual portfolio withdrawals, say from 4 to, maybe you're taking out 4% of how much you have saved. Maybe you lower that to 3%, take a little bit less out. That's going to decrease the likelihood that you'll outlive your money. Okay? And so if you name your next 3 moves, if your worst fears materialize, that's also a good exercise to do. And that's just you planning what you're going to do if what you think the worst thing that can happen if it actually happens. So if you're worried about losing your job, for example, you might look at your cash reserves, make sure you have enough put away on hand in case you do lose your job, and you have enough to pay your bills. You know, you can get ready to file for unemployment. You can figure out how you keep health insurance. All the things, get a plan for the things that you worry about, and that should reduce your anxiety. If you have a plan for it, that should make you less worried.
And don't you be surprised the amount of people that have anxiety attacks these days. Good information. Um, Number 2, avoid habits that fuel your anxiety. This is important, you all. Keeping up with the 24/7 news cycle and reading constant social media posts about the economy can trigger your brain to release what they call dopamine, right? That's this feeling that you get, and it makes you feel good, and it trains your brain to seek more news because it's making you feel good, right? Because you at least looking at the news, you're trying to keep up on what's going on. But financial therapists say that doing this ultimately feeds your anxiety. So it sets up safeguards. You need to set up safeguards to turn that off. Maybe limit the financial news viewing to an hour or less a day, or stop following these alarmist economic pundits on the social media platforms. Because I notice out there on the social media, especially on YouTube, there's a lot of guys coming talking about, I predicted the crash, and now the one now dope that is out there a lot is talking about how the valuation of the dollar is really going down, and people need looking for another currency, to switch to, and that's they flood you with commercials like that. But you need to turn that stuff down, tone it down, take a break from looking at your portfolio too. Those who check, now this is what financial therapists say. Those who check their investments frequently have a greater likelihood of seeing the inevitable short terms ups and downs. Now, even though, over the long term, the market typically rises. But if you're constantly looking at it and it's giving you anxieties, think about just probably looking at it quarterly. Clients who rely, check this out. This is once again what they call now financial therapists. Actually, that's what I call myself these days. They say clients who rely on quarterly updates have lower stress. And they say research shows they average significantly higher returns on their investments as well.
The next thing you have to do is get perspective. Take a step back, look at the situation. And the first thing you have to realize, so much of it is out of your control. There's a lot of things that you have no control over at all. And so once you accept that fact, then you might take a minute and look at history And you'll see, and I think we've shown this chart several times, that shows there have been several bear markets. They happen all the time. They're normal. Recessions have happened all the time. They're normal. And so is the eventual recovery. And if you realize that, yeah, there's going to be bear markets, there's going to be recessions, but every time there's been one in history, the market has recovered strongly. And instead of all the time work, like Bob was mentioning, checking your portfolio all the time. I'm not saying don't ever check it, but also look at your long-term view. Look at your long-term plan. Look at where you started. Look how far you've come. And that's going to give you a feeling that, yes, things go up and down, but I'm still headed in the right direction. And that way you can look at your total wealth, not be concerned about the ups and downs. I mean, for example, we talked about how much the market is going down, but always look to that far right column year to date. And if I had another column on that update sheet, it would be my overall return. And those numbers are even larger than the year-to-date returns. So I don't get caught up in the fact that the market is way down. Now, obviously, I feel better when it's up than when it's down. But again, I check myself, keep perspective, and realize if we do go into a recession or we do go into a bear market, it's going to last for a while. But afterwards, the market's going to do, it always has done better than it has in the past.
Yeah, that's good advice, though. Next thing is allow yourself some grace. What does that mean? Avoid beating yourself up and, or beating yourself up because you feel anxious, because you feel at unease, you don't have, the certainty, you don't feel financially secure. Financial therapist said instead, use the emotion to your benefit. Turn it to, you actually, to help yourself. There's a good chance that you not only be dealing with your financial feelings and jitters, but, just calm yourself, go listen to some music. And, it's a lot going on, y'all, and this can lead you to some place that can be, very destructive. So, try to, get away, man, go outside, take a walk and get your mind off of some of that stuff because it can really, really put you down that rabbit hole and you be doing it on yourself really because now the time anxieties are really brought on by ourselves. Either we worrying about what happened in the past or either we worrying about what might happen in the future. And the only thing that's important about right now is right now. And you need to get yourself into that moment. And there's always a good chance you're not the only one dealing with these financial jitters. So reach out to a trusted family member and even some friends can help. They could be a comfort and solidarity and realizing you're not the only one who feel this way. And that's true talk, you all, because I know so many people suffering from anxiety attacks, especially dealing with financial stress. So we hope that this would this message today would actually help you with dealing with the stress in your life. Modestine said those that telling you to buy stocks at how my Modestine, they got all kinds of gimmicks out there.
Hey, Bob, you always have a message for the day. One of my favorite saying is worry is paying interest on a debt that you may not owe.
Oh, damn, Bill, you getting a little bit that. See, that's why they call you Dotradamus.
That's just what I think about a lot. And because worry does nothing. Don't change anything. Don't help your situation to be any better.
Yeah. That's true talk. That's true talk. Hey, Dope, you had a scam that you wanted to tell us about.
Yeah, this happened in where I live. I live in over 55 community, and think I told you guys a while back. I had a policeman come in and do an update as far as scams, and he told us like over $1 million had been stolen from our subdivision, and it's like 700 houses here, and that number probably is grossly underestimated by the fact that some people got scammed and don't realize they got scammed, and a lot of people are ashamed to admit that they got scammed. But this one of our residents went to Lowe's, bought something at Lowe's, got his receipt, and the cashier mentioned to him, "Hey, you fill out the survey. There's an opportunity for someone to win $500." So he thought, "Excuse me, cool. I'll go home and fill out the survey. I might win 500." So he gets into the website for the survey, and apparently a hacker has hacked into their website, and so it tells him, "Oh, be aware of scams. You have a good opportunity to win this 500. Oh, matter of fact, you've won $500." And then when they asked for his credit card number and CVC code, he knew it was a scam and hung up. And then he notified Lowe's. But now is the time that you truly have to be worried, because it's Christmas time and holiday season, and a lot of people get real busy. They don't focus enough, and that's what you really need to fight scammers. And I've mentioned before about the grandparent scam, and right now it's really easy to do. You get your grandkids call or your kids call, and they say, "Hey, I know what I want for Christmas. I found it on this website. Give me your credit card number. I can buy it right now, and you don't have to do any shopping." But you got to realize that that voice could be AI, because they can sound just like anybody you know. So you got to be real leery of scams during this holiday season. Black Friday is going to be crazy with scams. You just really have to watch out now. And the things you got to watch out for is, especially on social media sites, looking at fake ads where they're offering things at discounts that don't make sense. Okay. But some people can't pass up a deal. And you would think I'm like that, but I am very diligent when it comes to, I love a deal, but I kind of very leery of scams. And so watch out for things that are on these social media websites, and they trying to get you to, or offering you something that's not real. A lot of times you'll see they'll call and say your flight was canceled and tell you that you got to pay extra fees to keep your flight, or your charge is going up. So those are the kind of things you have to watch out for. And they can sound very convincing, and they get you because you're hyped up into this whole holiday season. And again, you're not thinking as well as you normally do. And if the money that's been lost to scammers it's mind-boggling. It's a gazillion dollars. And so you have to be very careful, be very diligent. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Nobody's going to offer, something that's worth a whole lot of money for a little bit of money. Okay. And so somebody thought they were buying some tickets to a football game and over a website, and end up being false. Those are the kind of things you got to be leery of. Okay. Be careful.
Yeah, true that, though. So let's go to the summary and takeaways for today's show. And we got quite a few. It might have seemed quick and fast, but no, we got a lot of good takeaways from today's show. So, take it away.
Okie doke. First one is focus on your biggest concern. Find out what's bugging you. Take a look at it. Develop a plan to alleviate that, and then move on.
Don't fan the flame. What does that mean? Don't make things worse. Don't panic, because a lot of times the market go down and people want to jump all out and Chicken Little, the sky is falling. Don't fan the flame. Don't panic. And if you have a good financial plan, a good strategy, then stick to it, and that will eliminate a lot of the anxieties.
Control what you can control. Take care of business where you can. Make sure you have a budget. Make sure you are taking advantage of things that are offered to you, company matches, discounts, buying at the right times. And some things there's no use worrying about it because you can't control it. You have nothing to do with it. But the things that you can control, stay on top of those.
Always allow yourself grace. I'm sometimes like that. I feel I'm harder on myself than other people or on me. And sometimes you got to back up and give yourself some credit, give yourself some space, give yourself some grace.
Finally, have a long-term perspective. Usually when you make short-term decisions, they're usually not good decisions. Think long-term, have a plan, and try to look at the big picture instead of getting mired into short-term ups and downs.
Those are some good takeaways, man. I love it. And if y'all have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment box. I got a question though for the audience today, and we'd like for y'all to put your comments in the box to this question that I have. And remember, this is no right or wrong answer. Not judging nobody, but knowing what you know now, what financial decision would you do differently? Knowing what you know now.
Okay, I'll answer that first.
Okay, what's yours, though?
And mine would be, I think I would save less money in the tax deferred pocket. I would have paid a little more in taxes previously, so I wouldn't be sitting on as much as I am in tax deferred. And so I personally feel that taxes are at an all-time. I don't think they'll ever be this low again, at least in my lifetime. They can only go one way, with the deficit being what it is. And there's going to be a need to increase revenue, and the only way you can do that is to raise taxes. So that's one thing I would do different.
So what I would do differently, I would take more risk. I would take you laugh because that's how I am. I would take more risk early on. I did take some risk. Don't get me wrong, you all, because remember on the risk table, the 1 to 10, 1 being very low, 5 being very high. I took some risks, but I could have took one more up where I was, only because I was just cautious, and I come from, I didn't come up with a safety net, I didn't have a rich family or a family that was, had, endowments and things like that. So, I didn't have no safety net. So I was just cautious and always worried about being without, because I grew up, my sisters and brothers and my sisters on here, they know what I'm talking about. We lived a wonderful life, but we lived a meager life. You know what I mean? We never had to worry about nothing. We didn't have holes in our clothes or in our shoes, but we weren't like on Easy Street, my mother had to work for it, you know what I'm saying? And so did every one of my sisters and brothers who took, the autonomy to raise a family and better their lives and their kids. And I'm so thankful for my sisters and brothers and for the life that we've been able to live, because my mother gave us the foundation that we needed. And, she came from very meager means, but long story short, I would take more risk.
I couldn't help but laugh because as you were saying that, I thought about steak and eggs.
Oh, no, you did. No. You're not going to tell them the story about steak and eggs, are you?
Yeah, it's a quick one. When we were playing ball.
For you, maybe. Hey, Joe, what's trauma, man? You're trying to put me in trauma.
And every pregame meal, we had the same thing, steak
We
and
had to wear
eggs.
suits.
That was the meal they thought best got you ready to perform at your peak, steak and eggs. And there was a guy on our team who wore the same blazer to every meal. And so
Oh, you think that's funny, right?
I thought it was hilarious. So he got deemed, his outfit got deemed the steak and egg outfit because,
Oh, you're not saying no names.
no, I ain't saying no names, no.
Oh, God, I think they could figure this out though. but it wasn't. But it was just wasn't that one guy.
It was you and another guy who always wore the same thing.
And they called.
So
let me
y'all
just
became
say,
steak and eggs.
hey, dope. My mother gave me that suit coat. That's all I had.
No, your mother didn't give you that.
She did. That's all I had.
It was stylish. It was nice.
Oh, I worked that joint, man.
Once we got to like game 22,
but you never knew because I would change the pants, change the tie. Man, you thought I had about 10 different suits.
No, I didn't.
Hey, Linda, Gloria, get on. I'm talking about your baby brother. I love that daggone suit coat. And that's messed up, man. They called us steak and egg. Y'all don't know that's a traumatic to bring that up, though. I went to therapy for that.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
No, you're not. Okay, so answer to our question, right? You funny, though. Knowing what you know now, what financial decision would you do differently? Modestine said, remember, nothing is free in this life. Clutch said, don't do anything that inhibits your sleep at night.
No. We want to hear what one thing you would do individually different. What would you
financially?
Do? You knowing what you know now, what would you do?
Okay, this is Clutch. Oh, I'm sorry, that was before the question. I'm sorry, though. This is the answer to the question. Clutch said, I would have started investing 35 years ago. Got you. Okay, sorry. Modestine said, starting my 401k earlier. Pam Hill said, I would have added more to my monthly retirement fund and taken more risks. Yes, that's a good one. So, Pam, what did you mean? Was that the Navy one? Oh.
No, this was a.
No.
It was kind of checkered.
I'm talking about the daggone question. I didn't know she went back to the goddamn. So what you trying to say, Pam? I only had one daggone suit in college. That's my college mate, though.
You only had one coat.
But that's what Pam trying to say. Like she went to UDC with me. She trying to say, was that the Navy one? Stop it. See what you started, Pam. Oh, Pam, I'm gonna get you. You got jokes, Pam.
I don't even know her, and I like her.
Joanne said she would have saved better. Wow. Yes. That's real talk, y'all. Thank you y'all for participating. Really appreciate that. Note, my quote for the week is, if you're worried about the cost of not going forward, you should see the price of staying exactly where you are. Let me say that again. If you're worried about the cost of going forward, you should see the price of staying exactly where you are.
That's a good one.
You didn't give me a good response on that. I might to come better next week.
Yeah, that was good. I like that one.
Oh, okay. My little brother Carl said, I would have invested early and I would have educated myself about my investments. Wow, cool. Thank y'all for participating. Those are good things, man. Those are good things. And just remember, you all, like we always say, it is never too late. Never too late. So thank you all for tuning in. We see you next. No. Next week is Thanksgiving. Excuse me.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, December 4th. I hope y'all take the time and give thanks for all the blessings that you have, because all this other stuff up here don't matter. What's most important is not, worrying about what you don't have, but being thankful for what you do have. So we'll see you next week. Love, peace, and soul. Who does that sound like, dope? That sounds like somebody we saw before. Who was that? Don Cornelius.
Don
Okay.
Cornelius. Yeah.
All right. See y'all. Have a good week.